Welcome to another episode of Street Level Marketing on Now Media TV. My name is Mark Lamplugh. I'm your host. We have a great show for you today. I actually have Shannon Richardson back on the show. He was on our first episode, and I thought it was such a great show that I wanted to bring him back on and really kind of expand on what we talked about marketing and business development, and especially how business development and marketing and those strategies in the healthcare space can overlap into other businesses. I got my start in marketing with healthcare, and that evolved into entering other industries. Where I'm in the automotive space now, Tim Moran Auto Group. So Shannon, thanks for coming back on the show.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate you having me back.
Well, in the first spot here, I want to talk about, building trust or relationship-based marketing in healthcare. That I think that's probably more important in the healthcare space than probably at any other space, because you're dealing with people's health, and they got to trust you and trust that they're going to be comfortable and they're going to get the help that they need. Why are relationships the cornerstone of effective healthcare marketing?
Good question. It's interesting. I always say there's two industries that the relationships supersede everything, and that's going to be healthcare and banking. So everyone wants to trust their doctor, and they want to trust whoever's holding their money. So without a doubt, it definitely exceeds in the healthcare industry far past what you would see in other areas. I think the primary thing is everyone is, our health is primary concern for everybody, especially, our entire world just went through a huge pandemic, and a lot of people became much more cognizant of some of the health issues that we're facing as individuals, as a nation, as a species even. So I think we are all very aware. We're much more aware now of the effects of taking care of ourselves. So when it comes to that, you want to be engaged with someone that is putting the same level of effort, the same level of commitment and care into taking care of you. You want to be in a facility that is showing that they are happy to have you there. They are listening to you, and they are not just processing you through the process. So I think that's where we as marketers and the business development team, we really have to tap into the patient side of things. We're obviously here to work with our physicians and our administrative partners with the hospital networks and so forth, but the patients are key, and the patient relationship, building that is so vital, especially nowadays. Everyone's more informed, and people are able to have much more educated opinions on what type of care they receive. So whereas 20, 25 years ago, you may not know much about a practice or a medication you're taking. Now patients are going to do the research. They're going to go online. They're going to look into exactly what it is that's being prescribed to them, what the effects are, what other options there are. That's a key thing. What other options are available on the market. And just as a more informed client base now, patients are definitely a focus of what we need to look at.
Another aspect, and I think many know, but many might not understand, is, in the healthcare space, you're kind of marketing to two separate groups of people. You're marketing to the patients, and you're also in many cases marketing to other physicians and medical staff, to gain referral relationships or start using services and products in different practices. What strategies can marketers use to gain the trust of physicians and medical staff?
Well, like you said, it is a two-part process. You have to have the trust and build a relationship with the patients themselves, because they're going to be utilizing whatever service it is you offer. But the physicians and the staff, they're going to be working with you day to day. So you're going to be a vital key part of their office function, and making sure that they are going through a streamlined process. They know exactly what's happening. They have to be comfortable with you as an individual. So I think that's very much key when it comes to building these relationships long term, not just getting in the door or having a one-off encounter. The ultimate goal is to really solidify these relationships so that they're long-standing. And one of the key things with that is really working with physicians. And I know in our last conversation, we talked also about the gatekeepers, the people at the front of the office, the administrators and that admin team, how vital they are. A lot of people often just try to skip past them to get to the key decision makers, and that's not often the way to do it. I think there's a lot of opportunity with those with that administrative staff to build those relationships, and that can really turn into some positive outcomes down the line.
What role does active listening play in building long-term professional relationships?
You have to know what they want. You always have to know what they want, and you can do as much research as you want to. You can think that you have it figured out because you've been in the industry for years and decades. Even for some of us, we don't know. That we may be trying to I don't want to say sell them a product, because sell is not the right word, but we may be trying to offer them a service that they already they already have under control. They already have taken care of. We need to make sure that we're finding out what each individual need is for these practices. We want to make sure that we're listening to them to find out what it is that they need from us, not just assuming that we're going in to give them something that we know they need. So it's really just a matter of finding out what their challenges are at the time. What is it that you're up against? And how can I, as a marketer, come in and make your life a little bit easier? That's really one of the biggest sale points for us. Is our goal is to come in and make things a little bit easier on your end. We want to make sure that we're offering a service that you need, but we want to make sure it's as easy and streamlined as possible along the way.
One of the big things, I think, especially when you're new, and it's a fear, it's something I struggled with in the beginning when I was doing marketing and business development is, when you're speaking to physicians and things like that, you're speaking probably, I think many would argue, some of the most educated people, out there. And you're a young kid just getting into BD and physician liaison work, and having that that fear that you don't want to sound like you're less than, or that nervousness that comes along with speaking to people at that caliber. How do you handle that, and how also do you handle resistance from physicians who are skeptical of the marketing efforts?
Without a doubt. I think one of the key things is confidence is key. You have to know whatever it is that you're offering front and back. You need to make sure that you are very, very well versed on what it is, the service that you're offering to these groups. And you need to be confident in the fact that you have a good product, or you have a good service, something that's beneficial to them. And I think at that point, once you have that confidence level, you're able to go in and articulate that message properly. I'm also a big proponent of not necessarily rehearsing in front of the mirror. I know that's a lot of people say that, just if you go and just do it in front of the mirror and just run through the sales pitch, run through the taglines, make sure you have everything. In front of the mirror, to me, it's not something that I've had a lot of success with. It's just me personally, it's just not something I favor. But I am a huge advocate of working with other people on your team and role playing that way, making sure that you have an actual person that can give you some opposition and that can speak to some of the challenges that they're seeing in the field also. So if you have a counterpart that is also in the same industry as you, it doesn't even have to be somebody that's on your team, but somebody that's worked in your area, that knows the area well. Speak with them, talk to them, say, hey, can we just bounce a couple ideas around? Buy them lunch if you have to, whatever it is you can get to steal 20 or 30 minutes with a colleague, and just say, look, I want to run through this process with you, just to make sure that I know that I'm comfortable with what it is that I'm going to be presenting.
Sure. I mean, the next question that I have with you, and it's something I think doesn't necessarily just stand in the healthcare space, but can really go across the board in marketing and business development roles, is how do you maintain relationships during periods of industry change or uncertainty, especially times like now?
Yeah, without a doubt. I think it's interesting. We've gone particularly in healthcare, and I know pharmacology is one of the big ones. They've gone through some tremendous changes over the past 25 years. I know there are all the stories of the pharma reps and everyone, late 90s, early 2000s. It was kind of, I don't want to say the wild, wild west, but everyone was going out and there were these extravagant events that they were hosting for physicians, and none of that, we don't do any of that anymore. It's not allowed. It's something that the federal government has really tightened up the reins on, which rightfully so. I think it was a very dangerous line that some of these companies were walking, again, a couple of decades back. But we've had to shift that from, we are basically entertaining you to be your partner, to we offer something that is going to be beneficial to you. So all of the physicians and the administrators I work with, they all have, I know the majority of them on a very personal level. They all have my direct cell phone number. I really, in this business, it doesn't turn off. It's not a 9 to 5. It's not something Friday afternoon at 6 p.m. You're going to say, all right, I'm off. I got the next few days. I'm just going to do my thing. I get calls all the time, evenings, weekends. And sometimes it's just to check in, say, hey, been busy this week. I know you stopped by the office. Can we catch up? Can we set a time to catch up in the coming days? Or sometimes it's just they have a question about something that didn't get resolved, so they want to reach out. Making sure that they know that we are there for them when they need us, when it's convenient for them, is vital. It's the one of the strongest ways to solidify a relationship is by making sure that you are dependable and well informed.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Real quick, what are often mistakes that marketers make when they're trying to connect with healthcare professionals?
That's an interesting one. I think some of the challenges that are made, and typically in marketing and sales, when you come through a training process, you join a new organization or a new company, you have a new product or a new service you're offering. The people that are training you are the best of the best salesmen. So they're the ones that have been with the company for a long time. They're the ones that know the product or service very, very well. And they are, when you're going through the training process, they're selling you on why this is the greatest and the best and why it's it's something that everybody's going to want. But when you get into the field, there are challenges that you may not have been presented with. So I think one of the key things is making sure that you know not only what your strong points are, also know what your weak points are, and know where your strengths and weaknesses lie in reference to your competitors. So if you have most industries, you'll have one or two primary competitors, maybe three if you're if it's a larger industry. Make sure you know what it is that you do well compared to them, and know what it is that they do well compared to you, and kind of balance those things off of one another. You build a relationship based on the fact that I know this as a whole. I really have made it a goal to educate myself completely on this, not just on what it is I'm able to offer. So I want to be a resource to you. I have a lot of clinics that aren't even utilizing our services that historically have, or when I was in other industries, like when I was in the physician liaison space with oncology and with imaging, some of them still reach out to me today, and I've been removed from that space for years. But they'll reach out just if they have a question or if they just want some quick advice on things. So it's really it really is beneficial to make sure that you just know the industry as a whole, not just what it is that you do well.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, we have to come up to our next break, but when we come back, I want to get into talking about patient-centric marketing. Especially in high-stake fields. How do you create marketing campaigns that prioritize empathy and patient needs? So we'll be back after our word from these sponsors.